Lonely Monk Productions. I don't know if y'all have heard Runaway by Lydia Lovelace yet, but yo.
That's my Jawn! Hey yo, displace the guilt and embrace the pleasure.
What's good, friends and family, neighbors near and far? Welcome to an all-new episode of the Yo, That's My Jawn podcast. The podcast, website, brand, movement, way of life dedicated to the embrace and championing of your passions. I am your host, Nate Runkle, a.k.a. Jawn Bolaris, a.k.a. Nate 3.0, back at it again with yet another episode of the podcast. As always, I hope this podcast finds you all in good health and in good spirits. On today's episode, my guest is singer-songwriter Julia Pratt. We have a tremendous conversation about her music and the industry and so much more. Well, I could tell you all about it right now, but hey, spoilers! You'll hear it all in a minute. But first, what is going on, Jawn Scouts? Well, the weekend is over, and with it brings a close to the 2023 Exponential Music Festival presented by Subaru. And boy, howdy, what a weekend this was. You know, thanks to Tropical Storm Ophelia, the weather put an enormous cramp on the festivities, causing cancellations and the need to consolidate the lineup into a tighter window for safety. But big shouts out to WXPN for making the tough calls needed to be able to still get some music on. I can't imagine being tasked with those challenges, and they were still able to make a fantastic weekend out of it. So kudos. And to me, as great as the station and the music are, what makes this festival is the community. And gang, it was just a joy to watch our community out there in the wetness still enjoying and supporting music. It was so great to see all kinds of friends out there, old and new, and to meet some of you and chat with you all. You know, shout out to Greg and Bluebell and his lovely wife, and of course Bruce and Kristen and Matt and Roger, and the Tough Cookies. My God, I love this festival. Our homie Don McCluskey was amazing. Margot Price was killer. Say Shishi phenomenal, including an unplanned firework display. Old Crow Medicine Show did their thing. Balin was incredible. Sammy Ray and friends absolutely slayed, and they can count me as a new friend and fanatic. 89-year-old Bobby Rush put on a show that blew everybody's minds, and Wednesday was absolutely transcendent. Layla McCalla brought it. Allison Russell was stellar. Josh freaking Ritter owned the stage with a solo acoustic performance, and Bruce Hornsby laid it down. And then, icing on top of such a memorable weekend of cake, community, and music, Low Cut Connie and our buddy Adam absolutely leveled the place with a closing for the ages. You know, I was incredibly bummed that my guest today, Julia, didn't get to play, as she was one of the acts I was looking forward to seeing the most. We actually talk about that in this episode. But you know what? That's all right, because we can all catch Julia at World Cafe Live on October 11th as part of the Philly Music Fest. She is on an incredible bill with Marion Hill, Saturn, Trap Rabbit, and our pal and former guest Ryan Gilfillian and Sophie Coran. Well, I'm going to be there, so you should be there. Pick up some tickets and come check out some dope music with me. All right, real quick, are you on the mailing list? Get on the mailing list. What are you waiting for? Go to www.yothat'smyjawn.com and click the link to jump on the list. I send out one email per episode, and that's it. And that's got some links to some of the stuff we talk about here, and sometimes I drop little treats. Like in the email that went out with this episode, I shared some links to a project I recently got to be a part of. Some of you know I'm a disc golfer. Well, I recently teamed up with Heiser Media to provide commentary for their coverage of the 3rd annual Fort Washington Open presented by D-Town Disc Golf. And it was so much fun and a great card of play to watch 4 pros tackle the course I played a small part in building. So, www.yothat'smyjawn.com. Check out the mailing list, check out some merch, find links to all the socials, which of course is at Yo That's My Jawn if you're not already following. We're on them all. Go follow us. All right, one little tiny ad break and then my interview with Julia Pratt. Yo, That's My Jawn is brought to you by Liquid IV. Guys, it is festival season. And you know me, I love a festival. And the secret to enjoying a festival is to stay hydrated. Liquid IV has you covered while you prep before, power through to the headliner, and recover after the weekend. Liquid IV hydrates 2 times faster than water alone with 3 times the electrolytes of traditional sports drinks. Man, I love Liquid IV. It comes in a convenient packaging, and it's tasty. When you see me at the Exponential Music Festival this fall, you know that I will have Liquid IV on me. And it comes in 12 delicious, refreshing flavors to keep your hydration routine exciting. All right, strawberry used to be my favorite, but they have this new one. It's strawberry lemonade, and it is a banger. 1 stick of Liquid IV in 16 ounces of water hydrates you 2 times faster and more efficiently than water alone. It's non-GMO and free from gluten, dairy, and soy. Liquid IV believes that equitable access to clean and abundant water is the foundation of a healthier world. So Liquid IV partners with leading organizations for innovative solutions to help communities protect both their water and their futures. To date, Liquid IV has donated over 39 million servings in 50-plus countries around the world. Okay, and you can get 20% off when you go to liquidiv.com and use the promo code YTMJ at checkout. That's 20% off anything you order when you shop Better Hydration today using the promo code YTMJ at liquidiv.com. Do it, and let's get our fests on. My guest today is a Philly-based singer-songwriter whose music blends pop, jazz, R&B, and folk with dashes of electronic production. Her lushly layered vocals dance delicately, mesmerizing and intensifying her already beautifully emotional lyrics that examine family and love and betrayal and grappling with the concept of self. In the past year, she has played some high-profile gigs, including opening for Hozier on his pop-up show in Philly and opening for Mountjoy at their homecoming shows at the Man this past August, and with whom she worked with on her single A Little Love, which has reached almost 2 million streams on Spotify already. Her next single, Julia Baby, is set to be released this Friday, September 29th on all streaming services. Folks, it is my honor to welcome to the show, Julia Pratt. Ladies and gentlemen, I am joined today by the great Julia Pratt. Julia, thank you for joining me on Yo, That's My Jawn.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
So I don't know if you remember or not, but we met at Inside Hustle back in May. You were a
Yes.
panelist there, and you had some fantastic stories. So I've been really looking forward to getting the opportunity to pick your brain and stuff like that. So thank you so much for doing this.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah, that was such a fun panel, and I'm glad that we got to meet and that we're doing this.
Heck yeah. So tell these folks a little bit about yourself. For where are you from?
Yeah, so I'm originally from Philly. I'm 22 years old. I'm a singer-songwriter. I feel like those are probably the most important things about me. Yeah.
So like, what are like your early music memories? What kind of stuff do you remember, like playing around the house? What were your folks into and all?
Yeah, so my dad was definitely like the musical connoisseur of our household. He was a big jazz guy, so I grew up listening to like Miles Davis, John Coltrane, Billie Holiday, Ella Fitzgerald, all that. He was also a big classic rock guy, so I listened to like The Doors, The Who, the Beatles and the Beach Boys found themselves in the mix a lot. So I definitely, there was a little bit of country mixed in there too, like Willie Nelson and like Toby Keith. Like I feel like I definitely had a wider like exposure as a kid. And yeah, I feel like all of those things definitely like are in my songwriting, but I'm not like really conscious of them. It's just like that young age, like brainworm, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll keep an ear out for the Toby Keith to come cycling into your songwriting.
Yeah, it's on its way. We're getting more country.
That's great. So, like, were you playing instruments early on? Were you like an early adapter into making music?
Yeah, so my parents enrolled me in piano lessons like a lot of kids when I was like 5. So I played piano pretty young. Got really into cello. I listened to a lot of classical music on my own as a kid. I don't really know how that happened. So I played cello for a couple years, but I think like the biggest like influence for me as a player was I picked up saxophone when I was 8, and I played for about 8 years. It was like my thing, my love, and that kind of eventually transitioned into me singing because I wanted to sing what I was playing, but obviously I couldn't do both at the same time. So that's kind of my playing progression throughout my lifetime so far.
Oh, cool. Well, did you play saxophone in school and stuff like that?
Yeah, I played in like jazz ensembles in school, like all throughout elementary and middle school.
Okay, okay. Any marching
Yeah.
band in your past?
I don't think I had the physical stamina for that, to be quite honest. I considered it for a little bit in high school, but like we only had a drum line in my high school. And so like once I got at that point in my education, I was like, I'm just gonna start singing. Like I feel like there weren't a ton of opportunities to play, so I kind of transitioned myself into something else.
Yeah, it makes sense. So, like, when you early on playing sax and stuff like that, were you kind of thinking about songwriting at all, or were you just excited to be making music?
I was just excited to be playing. I think like I've always been writing. Like since I was a kid, I wrote a lot of poetry, and so but I never really thought about combining it with music until like late middle school, high school. So I really was just focused on playing and like having a good time. I loved playing in ensembles. It was like my favorite thing ever. Like just to be a part of making something so big was really fun for me. So that was definitely my focus.
Oh, it's interesting because, like, and obviously we'll get to it, but you've done really great collaborations with people. So, like, the
Yeah.
fact that you enjoy that, like, ensembleness makes sense in how well you collaborate.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, I definitely think it plays a part.
So, so when you started singing, like, when did guitar enter the picture? Also, like, because you're a great guitar player
Yeah.
too.
Oh, well, thank you. So I mean, like over the years, like post high school, I think I like there were like weeks where I'd pick it up and be like, I'm gonna play guitar, and then it always like found its way back into my closet. I only like really seriously started playing in July of last year, so it's been like a little over a full year of like playing most days and like kind of taking it more seriously.
Wow. How much of the cello influence like kind of helped make that navigation over to the guitar?
You know, I think it helped a lot. Maybe not like in conscious ways, but like I kind of like it's just ingrained how to like hold an instrument, and like moving your fingers around like a fretboard is like just a thing. So I definitely think it helped a lot.
Okay, yeah, definitely. So
Yeah.
like so you start singing and you had been writing poetry. When does kind of the first song come about? Like the first real thing
Yeah.
that you put together?
I wrote my first song in 8th grade, and it was so bad. It was bad and terrible, but also like really fun. And I think that was the first moment that I was like, oh, like I can actually like combine these things on my own. Um, yeah, it was just like I think I was actually in a little band at this like music school that I took saxophone lessons at, and um, we had this lead singer who was like not great at writing songs, and so I thought I'd give it a go, and it was really fun. And I think like I didn't stop after that.
Yeah, it's like a drug. Like once you get a taste of that, there's no
Yeah,
turning around. The does this
yeah.
song exist anywhere? Like if I were to get my super Googles on, would I be able to comb the internet and find this song?
Oh God, maybe there might be like an iPhone, a 2014 iPhone quality YouTube video somewhere. I don't even know if I want to give you the details of it though, because it's not good.
I love it. I love it. These are my favorite things. Like I love finding like people's old band camps that they forgot still existed, or their own old SoundCloud accounts. And it's like, hey, what about this song? And it's like, why do you know that? And it's like, well, I'm a Googler, you know?
Yeah, a Google feed.
Yeah, I like the deep dive. So when do you start kind of playing songs that you wrote out in front of people? Like,
I think I'm trying to think of the first time I actually performed something. It might not have been until after high school. Yeah, because I was in an a cappella group in high school, so I got a lot of my first like performance experience, like singing with them, and like my first like solo experiences and all that. But I think I really stuck to covers for the first few years of my songwriting journey because I just like wasn't super confident in my songs. I think the first time I ever played was actually like in Atlanta. I took a gap year after high school and like lived in Atlanta for a bit, and I played at some like it was like a small business grand opening, and I like sang a few of my songs and like nobody cared, and it was like the perfect introduction to like playing live in front of people who were like not there to see you. So I think it was probably like one of the best introductions to the live music scene.
that's great. You know, I've often said as a musician, to me, one of the greatest compliments when I know I'm doing something successful is not when someone goes overboard and praises me, and not when somebody completely craps on me, but when no one pays attention and they're like, it's just perfect background music, you know, or something like that. Or it's like, it doesn't stand out to them as being one thing, one extreme or the other. I'm like, okay, that's successful because like it didn't make them hate me and it didn't make them love me. It just worked, you know, like.
Yeah. And there's an acceptance there, you know, like when you're the accepted background music, it's like, okay, yeah. I'm okay.
Yeah. Because if you were terrible, you would have stuck out and somebody would have been like, can you like turn it down or like not do what you're doing right now?
Yeah, totally.
So you mentioned the a cappella groups and stuff like that. You know, and you had this like good jazz background for a good point there. Was there any thought of doing like a more of like a jazz vocalist kind of path, I guess is the word I'm looking for there? Or?
Definitely. I think in my late teens, I really, really wanted to like be a jazz vocalist. And then I think that I think I looked into classes for it actually, like when I was going into college. And I think like once I actually started approaching the technical side of it, I was like, nah, I don't think I'm built for this. It's like such a sport in and of itself. And like, there's so many like rules and just like traditions, and I felt like I loved so many other types of music too, and like I wanted to explore writing in different genres that I didn't really want to commit myself to like being a style vocalist. Not that obviously jazz singers can't sing other things, but I just kind of wanted to have more fun with it and not kind of make it into a learning project for myself, you know?
Yeah, no, it definitely makes sense. And, you know, like it was interesting, you know, digging through the catalog of everything you've released, you know, in prep for this and stuff like that. Like listening to a song like Fallout feels like it could work as a perfect quartet. And it just has like this kind of, you know, hip backbeat to it is the only thing that kind of throws it off. But like you can definitely hear the influence in there, and I can like I was just, you know, listening to that song kind of droning out, just kind of thinking about like what a quartet version of a lot of your songs would sound like, because you know, like I'm a big sucker for Unplugged and Storytellers and stuff like that, so any kind of thing where you can strip production down and all. But no, like
that's awesome.
You know, like, but your influences are definitely kind of baked in there. Like you can kind of hear, you know, those jazzy flavors in everything you've done so far. You know, you mentioned college. Where did you go to college?
So my college trajectory is not a traditional one. I think that I've like enrolled in like 5 different colleges and only attended 2. I've like backed out at the last moment. So I I was going to go to Temple straight out of high school. And then I was like, no, I'm going to take a gap year. And when COVID hit during 2020, I ended up moving home to LA, where I had been like, I deferred a year at this small Jesuit school called Loyola Marymount. So I ended up going there for my first like traditional year. A couple months into it, I was like, I can't do this. I applied to Belmont and got in. And so I was going to go to Tennessee. And then I was like, actually, I think I want to stay online. I like being online. And so then I applied to Berkeley, and now I go to Berkeley online.
Okay. Yeah. It's look, you sometimes you got to stick your toe in the water in a bunch of different waters before you decide what pool you want to jump in. Yeah, I get it. Absolutely.
Yeah. It's just one of those things too. It's like, I knew also that I wanted to do music. But I think at first, like fresh out of high school, I was just really afraid to like take a step. I don't come from a family of musicians, like come from a family of like doctors, lawyers. And I was like, oh, like if I don't get a traditional college degree, like I don't know what I'm going to do if this doesn't work out. And so like I had that like wrestling period with myself where I was like, am I gonna commit to this? Like, whether it be in an educational way, or am I just going to go out and do it? And I think it took a couple of years for me to like back myself a little bit and like trust myself that like this was something that I could do. So if anyone listening is struggling with that, you're not alone. I've had a hard path in this life.
That's awesome. You mentioned COVID, which was a great thing that happened for all of us, I suppose.
Definitely,
nothing great about it. What was COVID like as someone like just kind of leaving high school and kind of like, now I can't start anything in life? Like, what was that like?
It was really hard. I think like I had all these grand plans to like return to school the next year and like start over. And I think I had a lot of anxiety, like especially taking a gap year, of like falling behind people, like all my friends who were already in their first year. And I think that like there was just definitely a period for me where I was like, oh, like I've made the biggest mistake of my life, like not even starting school, because I kind of knew like I probably wasn't ever going to get like the quote college experience. And I think when I was younger, that was really important to me. I grew up like moving around a lot. And so like I had never had like the full high school experience, or like I didn't go to prom, or like even my graduation. And so I was just kind of like, damn, like I'm not going to have this one thing that I wanted. But I think also, I mean, COVID obviously was terrible for everybody involved, but I think it gave me a lot of revelations about like life is so unpredictable. And like, even if I take a seemingly like easier or like more concrete path, like roadblocks will be thrown at us regardless. And so I think it honestly helped me to kind of like sit down with myself and figure out what I want to do and like how I can just do that to the best of my ability, like regardless of what's happening all around, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. You know, it was a chance for everyone to spend a lot of time with themselves and really kind of learn who they are, you know, and
for better or for worse.
Exactly. You know, you start to find the stuff that you love about yourself, and then the stuff that you're really not so sure about, you know. But totally. So was it over the pandemic that the whole Sneakerella thing happened? Because that's wild to me. Tell these folks a little bit about that.
Yeah, that was definitely a weird one. I was at LA at that point, so I was doing like online school from home, and I had a few sessions with this producer in LA, Theron Feemster, and he kind of became a mentor to me for like how to even like get my foot in the door as a songwriter. And he really like believed in me. We had a few sessions writing for other artists, and it was just really cool. And he called me out of the blue one day on like a Sunday, I think, and was like, can you hop on Zoom? Like, I need you to write a song. He gave me zero information, like what it was for. All he said was like, make it upbeat. And I didn't have like a home studio or anything. So I was like in my mom's closet on like an Amazon mic, and he was making the track on Zoom while I was writing like the verse. And we just like, I literally like recorded my vocals and sent it to him. And he was like, okay, like I'll let you know what's happening. I think like a week or two later, he was like, oh yeah, like that was for like a Disney soundtrack song. And like, we're going to keep your voice on it. And like, you now have a Disney like song. And it was just like very like unexpected, and it honestly was just kind of one of those like, what the fuck is happening? Oh, sorry for cussing.
No,
what
you're
the
good.
F is
You're
happening
good.
moments.
Yeah, that's absolutely amazing, especially because like, you know, it sounds so perfect, and like to think that you're like in a closet, you know, dropping vocal lines into, it's great. That's great.
It's so weird. I feel like that's actually like most of my catalog is me singing in the closet. Up until like my songs this year, I think that was like well, I mean, my EP Fallout was recorded in a studio, but like all my other releases were just me like in my closet, like trying to figure out how to send files to engineers to mix. It was the whole thing.
That's crazy. The you know, like I said, this is the product of ADHD, but I like to jump all over the place. But All the Girls Are Crazy also was a soundtrack song as well, right? That ended up on what was it? Where's Rose? How did that come about?
So that really just came out of like relationship and friendship. So Justin Boswick, who directed that movie, he is just a family friend. He went to film school with my sister a couple years back, and we'd worked together a little bit on like collaborating for like music videos. And he was in the beginning stages of like starting his own production company. And he, pitched this idea to me for this movie that's about, sexual assault. And All the Girls Are Crazy is obviously about that as well. And he just kind of pitched the idea of having it be like the credit song. And it just like worked so perfectly. And I think that was a song for me that was super near and dear to my heart. But I think like around the time that I wrote it and released it, I wasn't ready to like talk about those things. And so I felt like it being in the movie was just like a perfect way to like kind of give it up, like I let it live its own life, and, something that I didn't have to like cling on to so tightly. So it just worked out perfectly. And I thought it was a great film with a great message. And I was just honestly happy that I got to be a part of it in some way.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and like soundtrack placement is like just a beautiful thing in itself. But like to have the end credit song is like is almost like a dunk. Like it's just like you get to be the last moment, the kind of icing on the cake of this is you've just experienced this, now feel this. You know what I mean? Like it's awesome.
Yeah, it's a big honor for sure.
Yeah. So then, we go through that was what, 2018, go through the pandemic. And then all of a sudden you kind of hit the ground running, dropping, single after single. Were you doing, were these things you had written, the previous, or was it just like, was this, kind of pandemic, creativity? Yeah.
Everything was pandemic creativity. I think like, honestly, besides All the Girls Are Crazy and like most of the Fallout EP was written pre-pandemic, but like everything else that I released throughout 2022 was like, I mean, I kind of spent that year, again, like I'd started going to Berkeley online during that point. And so I was just like learning a lot about music, and like all I could do was sit alone in my room. And so I was just writing all of these songs and like figuring out how to like make them with other people. So like Tried and True, Fever Dream, Odyssey, like all of the songs that I released during that year were all pandemic songs.
That's awesome. You are a perfect person to ask. This is something I've asked a few people, because this literally is just me showing that I'm an old man and stuff like that. But but singles and EPs over an album, was this a conscious thought, or was it just like, hey, I made this, let me put it up?
Yeah, it definitely was a conscious thought. I think over the past couple of years, as I think about like how I want to release my music, I love albums, and I'm definitely like an album person. I love to go from start to finish, and like, especially if it's like a concept project, like that's just like everything for me. And I think like in the early days of me making music throughout the pandemic, like it just wasn't easy for me to like get the songs where I wanted them to be. And so it was just like a lot of collaboration, usually like across the country with people in different states, different time zones, whatever. So I just wasn't able to like pump out the music in a timeline that like worked for me. And so I felt like I had all these songs that meant a lot to me, but they didn't go together. And I'm definitely like Fallout for me was like start to finish. There was a concept behind that. And like I had a vision for like what the storyline was. And I think with the other songs, I was like in this point where like there was so much time between releases and I like kept reinventing what I wanted like a concept to be. And like when it didn't come together, I was just kind of like, fuck it, this is going to be a single. Like I'm not going to force it to fit in with the other songs I'm making. And now that I'm kind of like at a place where I can put bodies of work together, I still want to keep it small because I don't feel like I'm ready to like give the world like my first album idea yet. So I kind of have this plan to like keep making mini projects to kind of like show like people like I am an artist who has like a full thought period at the end of the sentence, but you're going to have to wait until I can like make the first album like everything I want it to be.
That's awesome. No, I dig that. Yeah, it's been this weird thing where like and that's why I always say that it's like an old man thing. Is that like I'm from the album generation. Like we were all about albums, and now like singles and EPs. Like to me, it makes more sense. Like if you have it, put it out. Like it's and like a lot of albums. Like I just listened to I made it through the other day the Olivia Rodrigo album, and I was like, no, I know this song. Like it's like because so much is already released as like a single or streaming somewhere that like by the time you get to the album, you're just like, oh, it's just a collection of what I've heard for the past 6 months or something like that.
Yeah.
But like you said, when you're putting together like a complete thought and you have an idea, I'm not saying one's better than the other, but like you definitely, I definitely understand the approach, and it's finally starting to sink in and make sense.
Yeah, I think too, like there's such a, especially like in school and like learning about like quote strategy. The only reason I put quotes around it is because like I feel like the industry changes every second and like strategies need to shift to like reflect that. But anyways, that's another tangent. I feel like there's such a push for artists to put out singles because like you're trying to capture the attention span of like this audience that no longer has an attention span. And I understand that ideology, like kind of like trying to reach the consumer where they are. But I honestly, I feel like I'm starting to reject that more and more, where I'm like, people who will be my fans in the future, like however long that may be from now, they're going to gravitate towards my art because they like my art. And like, I'm not trying to reach them. Like, I hope that they find me. And like, obviously like social media and whatever is a tool to do that. But I think like a huge part for me of like protecting my own artistic integrity is to like do what feels right for me and my art. Like, I feel like my music is like my baby. And like, I don't want to coddle my baby and like give it plastic surgery so that other people will love it. Like, it is perfect as it is to me. And like, there are going to be people out there who feel the same way. And it's just a matter of finding them. So yeah, I definitely like, I love when a song functions as a single. That's great. But like, if it doesn't, I'm not going to force it to fit that role,
Sure. No, absolutely.
That's my first tangent of the day.
I love it. No, more. But that's the thing is like this whole strategy thing, because like it's the same thing with podcasts. Like, I always tell these people, that like whenever somebody asks me like, well, how do you do like a good podcast? I'm like, I don't know. I'm still doing mine. But like, but I do know, like, I know it's one of those weird things where I know what the strategy dictates and I know what they say to do, but a lot of times it goes against what I enjoy doing on this show. So like, I just kind of reject it. And like, I know the numbers are going to reflect whenever I reject it. Like, every once in a while I'll have a guest on here who's not a musician. All right. And it's pretty much a music podcast, but every once in a while, like I'll have an actor, or like I've had like, get people in the NFT space. Like I've just had weird people on here, and it's literally just because I want to have a conversation with them, and I just want to pick their brain, and I know, like looking at the numbers, that those don't hit get the same because like people who come to this for music are like, well, I don't know what I'm supposed to do with this guy. But it's not for you. It's for me.
Exactly. And I think that's really important to like do things for ourselves when we create. You know what I mean? Like, because I think like I know for me, like the joy has been completely lost at moments when I realize that like I'm trying to cater to what I think other people want. And I think too, a lot of the time, like the general public, like I feel like, I mean, and I include myself in this, like we don't know what we want until we see it. You know what I mean? And so it's like, we can say like, yes, these things have worked and like there's been a pattern of it working, but like anything cool that's like broken the mold has broken the mold, you know? And then we reinvent the strategy so that like everyone's doing that. And then that becomes like less cool and authentic because everyone's doing it. And it's like, God, you know, I feel like it's easy to just lose the joy of like making something. And for you, like just talking to people who interest you, like I think that's really important to do. So kudos to you. Keep doing it.
Thank you. No, you know what it is though? Like I've always thought that like the people I enjoy following and the people I enjoy listening to and even talking to and stuff like that are the people who just are very passionate about what they do and they're into like it's like their lifeblood, you know, and stuff like that. And I think it's not because it fits some kind of strategy or something like that, or you know, it niched down so specific that it just hit me. No, it's like I gravitate towards that passion, and I like to think that there's other people out there who kind of just want that too, who just want to experience like something that somebody's into. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, totally. I'm with you. we'll get it someday. We'll get it.
We'll find it. After anyone hears this interview, we're going to change the entire strategy for everybody. So,
oh yeah, we're blowing up the entertainment industry right now as we speak.
That's right. So you know, you were speaking about joy, and I'm going to use it as a segue. So you record this TikTok of "Dirty Love" by Mount Joy. And it's a beautiful segue, right? Yeah, thank you.
That was awesome.
So you record this TikTok. As you're recording that TikTok, are you thinking, oh, this will change my life?
No, not at all. That was another like pandemic TikTok where I was like, I'm bored and I like this song and I'm just gonna like, I'm not a huge like social media person. So it's rare, especially in those days when like no one was telling me to, like it was rare for me to put something up. And yeah, I mean, it stayed at like 3 likes and like 20 views up until like Matt saw it. And like, it was just like a little innocuous TikTok on my page. I didn't expect anything.
It's amazing. Did you ever find out like how it made its way to Matt or?
Yeah. So, I mean, honestly, it was just some random lady who tagged them on TikTok and was like, you should watch this. And like, I mean, that day, like, I think they saw her comment and watched it and were like, oh, cool. Like, it was, I don't remember her name or her username, but that lady is the one who started it all.
I was going to say, she better have, like, at least a ticket to a show or something. Like,
yeah, I should reach out to her for sure.
That's amazing. So then based off of that, you get to perform with them was that last summer?
Yeah, that was last September.
That's wild. Absolutely incredible. And then you guys put together a little love. Tell me about like, did you have that already written before any idea of collaborating or?
Yeah, I'd written that song. Long before I'd started talking to them. I think I wrote it. I mean, it was after we'd met, but I think I wrote it in like November of last year. And I started working on it with a friend of mine who produced my other song, Odyssey. And I sent it to him and he like built out the production for it. And it was just like kind of us making it. And I threw it in my demo folder and was kind of like, all right, well, whatever. Like I have other songs I'm focusing on. And so the song was written, made, produced, like everything. And then I ended up at some point in the new year of this year, like sharing my demo folder with Matt and it caught his eye. So it was cool because it was like, oh, wow, like he's been such a big songwriting inspiration for me. And it was like, oh my God, like one of my songwriting idols, like something that I wrote, like it was pretty cool.
That's so cool. Yeah, the and it turned out like beautifully. Like I don't know. You probably didn't see this, but I do these little video snippets where I name weekly Jawns. It's just literally what I listen to throughout the week, like what new
cool.
songs. I think it might have been one of the very first weekly Jawns that I released as on a reel or something like that. But it's such a beautiful song, and like your voices go together so perfectly that like it just makes sense to me. Like it's wild that it was written without his input, early on, because like it's so seamless. Like it feels so good.
I feel like it just goes to show like how much I've like listened to them as a band. Like I think that there's, especially on like some of my more recent stuff, like I definitely feel like they have a big influence on me in terms of just how I write. And so I think that was a huge part of it, is just like they've been so important to me as like a band to look up to, that it just kind of fit together. And I feel like I've sung along to his songs so many times, like it was just meant to happen,
Yeah, and then you got to open the man shows this year. What was that like? Like getting to kind of essentially perform, something with the person who inspired it. Essentially inspired the writing, like for a crowd of like a hometown crowd. That's got to feel amazing.
Yeah. The energy was like definitely palpable. It was like, their Philly shows are so special. Like everyone is really just like, it's like this little bubble of just like excitement and energy. And it was really cool for me because like, obviously I'm very much like up and coming. I'm not very established, and I've never had like all of my shows, I think even like the bigger ones I played, have been opening for someone much larger than me. And so like no one's there to see me, or they don't know my songs. And like that's special in its own right, getting to like sing something for the first time in front of an audience who hasn't heard it before. But like being able to play it at the Man and like seeing people like singing the words along with me was like, it was just something that hadn't happened to me before on that scale. And it was just like definitely a huge gratitude moment of like being able to like share that with people. Like I felt like everyone was excited that like, I think Philly too is such a special city because like, we really like root for our own. And I felt like a lot of the people there were like, oh my God, like that's just awesome. And we just want to like support these Philly people who are making music. And it was just a really great experience. Yeah.
Heck yeah, that's cool. You mentioned opening. You also got to open for Hozier at the World Cafe Live pop-up, which is amazing. One of my other guests, Caroline Weinroth, who performs as Cinema Hearts, she opened the DC show, and like I was just like the two of you are like the perfect complement for a Hozier show, that I was so mad that I missed both of them. Like I was like, damn it, that would have been beautiful. What was that experience like? Because like those pop-up shows I think sold out in like 2 minutes or something ridiculous.
Yeah. It's actually like so funny because my family are like huge Hozier fans, like since his first album. And like so I saw the World Cafe Live Instagram post that he was playing like way too late. And so I came home that day and I was pissed off because I didn't get a ticket. And like, I remember like my mom and I were just like, God damn it. Like, how did we miss this? And we were really in our feelings about it. And like when I got the call that like I'd been selected, like I just like freaked out, because not only was it obviously just like a huge like honor to be able to play for another like songwriter who's really, really influenced me, but like to also be able to see him perform at such an intimate venue was like, it was just like two dreams like scratched off the list,
Yeah, it's so cool. Like, and I'm excited because this will air right after it happens. So this weekend I got to see you perform at the Exponential Music Festival. So I'm not excited for it. I'm excited that it happened in the past.
Yeah. Yes, of course. And it went beautifully, of course.
It was amazing. It was absolutely amazing. But that's another like great stage for you. Like that's a great placement. All right, I'm going to pretend like it. I'm not going to stop pretending that we're in the future. So like Leading up to that, any kind of surprises we may have already seen, or we will see? I see now. I'm confusing myself.
Now the timelines are all messed up.
Yeah.
I think, yeah. So I'm performing a lot of songs that are on a potential upcoming project of mine, which may or may not be happening. No, I'm really excited. I think like obviously big stage, like I'm so excited to just like be there and like be able to play, but I'm doing a full band show. There may or may not be like some vocoder things happening on stage, a lot of like cool moments, playing songs that I've played before, but also songs that are about to, come out and that will be out of my hands soon. So it's always exciting to like prep a fresh set list. I think, I have like set lists made that I play for like shows that I have, whenever they come up, but like this is a new fresh thing and I'm excited to be able to share it.
That's so cool. I'm excited to have seen it. See, I'm doing it again. Yeah. And then of course the Philly Music Fest date is the 11th of October. Is that right? Something like that?
Yes.
That makes sense.
The 11th.
And what a lineup for that show. I'm super excited for that one. How did Greg just kind of reach out to you, or was that something you were trying to get involved in, or?
Yeah, no, he sent me an email back in like February or March and asked if I'd be interested. And of course I was super excited. I Philly Music Fest is just such a cool thing. And it's crazy that like he's like Greg is the one who like does it all and like organizes and puts it together. So, and I love Marion Hill. All the other artists on the bill are like super cool. And I'm excited to watch everyone's sets. I think that's like the coolest part about like this year and the shows I've been able to play is like I get to see other artists that like I enjoy and who I look up to. So I'm really excited. And I also just love World Cafe, and playing there every time is like such a joy.
Yeah. And that's Ryan's on that bill, right? Ryan Gilfillian, also former guest, who like is another person who I'm absolutely excited to see. Because he's just another person who I literally think you guys have the best lineup, like the best date for the
fest. Wow, thank you.
Because it's just it's like all of my sensibilities in one. Like it's absolutely perfect, and I can't wait for that.
Oh hell yeah! Well, me neither.
So you mentioned a possible upcoming project. Like what are you thinking album, or are you thinking just some nondescript project of?
We'll go with nondescript. It's I will say it's not an album, but it is a project, and it is a concept project of mine that I've been enjoying making. It's had a lot of collaboration on it, which has been really fun. And yeah, I think this is a cool project for me because I think like from a songwriting perspective, I'm much more candid than I think I've been before. And I think it's been a fun stretch for my like artistic sensibility. I think I cover some ground that I haven't covered before, and I'm very excited for it to come out.
That's awesome. I know like we're always all growing and we're always all changing and evolving and stuff like that. But do you feel like you've kind of settled into your sound? Like, do you think you know what no? No, you're still
not at all. I think, I think that there are elements of my sound that will stay consistent. Like I love having like, thick vocal stacks. I like love creating harmonies. I think that's something that will always be like a trademark of my music. But I think in terms of everything else, like it's really song by song, project by project. Like there are periods where like I'm listening to like different things and like I'm inspired by that and I'll write more in that style. And I think that that's also another reason why I love EPs is because I feel like, yes, it's a project, but like sometimes I don't have like 10 to 12 songs that I feel like fit together in a certain way, like stylistically. But for an EP, it's like, okay, yeah, I have 5 songs. Like I'm just gonna put them together, and I feel like it gives me freedom to be like different. Like each EP can be like slightly different, and like there's still full thoughts. So I think no, I'm still kind of settling into like giving myself some freedom to do different things.
All right. No, I love it. That's a great answer. Great answer. At this time, you want to go through my Jauntlet questionnaire? These are the questions that I ask every
Yes.
guest that gets to come through here. It starts with the one-hit wonders and one-hit wonder by name of segment only. But the first one, Billy Joel or Elton John? Who do you prefer?
I mean, that's hard. I think Billy Joel, though. I listened to a lot of Billy Joel growing up and big influence.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I dig it. I dig it. Number two, Debbie Harry or Joan Jett?
Joan Jett, I thought that she was like the coolest person ever when I was younger, so I have to go with her.
Absolutely. Still 100% cool. Like she is one of the coolest people to have ever lived.
I mean, that definitely hasn't faded for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Aretha Franklin or Tina Turner?
Another really hard one. I think I'm going to have to go with Tina Turner.
Okay.
Just like such an icon. Not that Aretha isn't, of course, but Tina's been on our minds recently with her recent passing, so I'm going to go with her.
Okay, excellent. I thought, I think it was Adam from Low Cut Connie who had an answer that was like Aretha vocally, Tina for performance. And I was like, oh, you rewrote the rules. Come on.
Oh, yeah. Wow, that's a good answer.
Perfect
I
answer,
might
right?
steal that.
Next one, Nirvana or Pearl Jam?
I think Nirvana. I think, I mean, oh God, it's so hard. Like, these are really hard questions, but I think I'm gonna have to go with Nirvana simply because of like, I just grew up listening to a lot more Nirvana still. I think I found Pearl Jam a little bit later in my musical development.
Okay. No, respect. Janis Joplin or Stevie Nicks?
Stevie Nicks. I love Stevie Nicks. I think that, oh God, she's so cool. And I'm a big like Fleetwood Mac fan, like since childhood. So Stevie Nicks.
Excellent.
And we have to support the witchiness.
Yes, definitely. The big cliche, Beatles or the Stones?
Beatles. Diehard Beatles fan. Always will be. Sorry, Stones.
No, it makes sense. It actually tracks. Like I always like to tell people that I pre-guess what people's answers are going to be, and I can definitely see Beatles.
How am I doing so far?
Yeah, no, they're pretty spot on. Tina Turner threw me for a loop though. That one threw me off. Cool. The last one of the stock ones, Bohemian Rhapsody or Stairway to Heaven?
Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yeah.
I mean, how could you not?
It's exactly. Every once in a while in this section, I like to throw a curveball and throw specific ones for the guests. So, Julia, I got two for you, and this is all because of the jazz background. We'll start with Ella Fitzgerald or Billie Holiday.
Oh God, I think I'm gonna have to go with Billie.
Yeah,
there's something about like the tone of her voice that has always just been like, I just like, and I love Ella too, but there's just something about Billie that just like strikes me differently. I think that she like, there's a rasp and like, just this like character that like, I can't even like articulate. And I love her. But yeah, so definitely Billie.
Excellent. Yeah, there are certain voices that like I think are like tonally coded for people's souls. And and that sounds like yours. I get it. I totally get it. And the last one I'll tack on, Miles or Coltrane?
Coltrane.
Sax player.
Yeah, I have to go with him. Definitely Coltrane. Also from Philly.
Yes.
So we gotta support that.
That's it. Represent. The next section is the top 10 countdown. Now, of course, you know this, but I'll just reiterate it for anybody listening who may not. Jawn can be whatever you want it to be. It doesn't have to be music. It can be anything. But the first one, what was your first Jawn? What was the first thing you were obsessed with when you were a child?
Oh God, I think random, but vacuum cleaners.
Really?
Kind of random. There's a story that my mom tells about how like I took our family vacuum cleaner in my room when I was like 5 and like started taking it apart and trying to put it back together. I don't know where that curiosity went somewhere down the line, but I think that was like the first thing that I was like, I can remember being just like super obsessed with, like, how does this work? And like, how can I like put it together or take it apart and like put it back together and have it still work? So random, but yeah.
I like it. And now I'll offer you something that you could possibly use, and that is John Fishman, the drummer from Fish, actually plays the vacuum cleaner during live shows. And I think there's a few vacuum cleaner solos on Lawn Boy. Maybe that's something you can introduce into your own music. You know, you can merge two loves.
Yeah, keep an eye out for my next few projects. There might be some vacuum cleaner noises in there.
Excellent. Yeah, see, you heard it here first, folks. Number 2, what's your current Jawn? What are you into right now?
I have gone back, like I've recently slipped back into this. Oh my God, now that you're asking me, I totally forget what it is I've been listening to. Declan McKenna. I've loved his albums and like his songs since he first started releasing music, but I've recently gone back and do a deep dive of his stuff like over the past day or two, and it's on my mind.
That's awesome. Perfect answer. I love it. Number 3, what was your first concert? What was the first live show you saw?
My first live show, I actually didn't go to concerts much as a kid. I think my first show was Shawn Mendes when I was like 15. Yeah, I definitely went through a Shawn Mendes phase. So
That's
I think
awesome.
That was my first one.
Hey, there's no shame in that game. The tagline of this show is displace the guilt, embrace the pleasure, because I don't believe in guilty pleasures. And I've always wanted, so own it. Yeah. Hell yeah. With Shawn Mendes.
I love Shawn Mendes. Let's go, Shawn.
Yeah. There you go. Number 4, what was your last concert? What was the last live show you saw?
The last concert I saw was, I think, Tiny Habits, a couple, like last month at the Foundry. That was an awesome show. I love them. They're sick.
That's great. Number 5, what's your favorite concert? What was the best show you ever saw?
Okay. 5 Seconds of Summer was one of the best concerts I've ever seen. They are, I think I saw them in like 2018, and they were like such good performers, like to the point where my mom didn't want to go, but I dragged her along with me, and she left like a fan, and she still is a big fan of them to this day. Like, they're great performers. That is tied with the Hosier show that I just saw a couple months ago, because I mean, I can't not include that.
Yeah, that's so incredibly special. Like I just saw like those kind of like small little intimate shows with people who you feel like you probably missed the mark to ever see in a small intimate venue like that are the best. My wife and I just in June got to see Jeff Tweedy at the Atlantic in DC, and it was like the coolest experience to like just be in a room of like 450 other people and Jeff Tweedy playing guitar. Like it was almost like it's bigger than a living room, but it felt like a living room show, you know?
Yeah, that's so cool. It's so special. And I'm so glad that there are artists who do that. You know, I think it's important to give people the opportunity to like to live that with you. I don't know. I wonder how it must feel for them too. Like, you can easily play an arena and then you come to like a 600 cap room and like do your thing, you know? It must be cool.
Yeah, that's like I always had these delusions of grandeur of enormous fame, but I always was like I think if I ever become super famous, I'm still gonna like drop in on open mics and just
just make some people's days, you know?
Yeah, just do like a 3-song set and be like, oh, I hope you enjoyed my time, you know, just like the old days. Yeah. Number 6, who have you never seen live that you wish you would have? They can be living or dead.
Amy Winehouse, I think, definitely. I love Amy Winehouse, and I mean, who doesn't? But yeah, she's definitely had a big impact on me, just as like a human being, and like listening to her music and like learning about her, even after she passed. Like, just what a figure, you know. So definitely her.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I think she's one of those people who like, you know, like you said, everybody loves Amy Winehouse, but I feel like if you do just a little bit of a deeper dive, you start to find like you'll love her even more, you know, like, like I DJ weddings, and one of the things that I like to play is she did this, I want to say maybe it was like an AOL session or some little thing like that. But she does a cover of To Know Him Is to Love Him, and it's just her and a guitar. And I always play that during a dinner set. Isn't it beautiful? I always play it during dinner sets, man. It's incredible.
Yeah, I mean, there's this one song. It's kind of a deep cut. It's called "What It Is," and it's literally like this ballad with just her and a guitar. And I think that song, like, I have this playlist on Spotify that I keep adding to called "Songs That Rewired My Brain," and that song rewired my brain. Like, I think I heard it the first time and was like literally stopped in my tracks and was like, "What the fuck is this?" Like, so I would definitely recommend that song. But yeah, just in general, it's just incredible.
Brilliant. I love it. Number 7, what's an unappreciated Jawn? Name something that you wish had more attention to it.
Okay. There's this singer-songwriter named Kevin Garrett who he's definitely like he has a career. Like he's not like some guy in a basement who no one knows about, but I think that he should be way bigger than he is. His songwriting to me is like unparalleled, and I love his voice, and like his musicality is just like everything to me. And I've been following him for years and years and years, and every time I'm like, why is he not like bigger, you know? And
Yeah.
maybe I think I get the feeling he's probably someone who doesn't want to be like huge. Like I don't know. I don't know him, but you know, my thoughts are maybe like this is intentional, but every time someone asks me to play a song that they might not have ever heard, I always pick a Kevin Garrett song. Yeah,
that's awesome. I'll have to check it out after we do this interview. That's this question and this kind of concept and idea was literally the birthplace of this podcast, because like I love bringing attention to people who I'm just like, why is this person? First of all, why is this person talking to me? Second of all, why is this person not bigger? You know what I mean? Like they should be bigger than talking to me. Like no, but yes, I will definitely have to check some of that out as soon as this is
do
done.
it.
Number 8, what's your favorite album?
Okay, this is a really hard one, but I think I finally landed on a choice, which is Supermodel by Foster the People. I think it was like a 2014 album, and another one that like for me reinvented the wheel. And like that's another one that I like recently dove back into like within the past few months, and listening to it like with fresh ears as like a 20-something-year-old now, like it hits so much different than it did when I was a teenager. And like I love when there's a project that's like so nuanced that like you can like see it in different parts of your life and like feel differently towards it, and like hear different things and understand it differently. And I think that's an album that like I'll grow with for like the rest of my life. So I think it has to be Supermodel.
Awesome answer. I love it. Number 9, name an artist whose output you'll consume anything they release.
Hosier.
Yeah.
Probably also Declan McKenna on top of that. I love Declan McKenna. I've already mentioned before like 3 times, but yeah.
It's awesome. You'll have to write another duet for you and Declan to pull off. That's the move.
Oh God, you know, these are the things I can't even dare to dream about.
Well, you know, just write something in his style, throw it in your demo folder, and then send it off to us.
In the link, there we go. Easy.
It's been a success so far, so just continue.
If it ain't broke, you know, don't fix it.
Exactly. The 10th and final of the top 10 countdown. What is your favorite Jawn of all time? Again, can be anything you want it to be.
Okay, I think I'm gonna go crazy cat lady and say my cat. I have a cat. He's a black cat. His name is Jackson, and he is like my emotional support cat. And I think like he honestly has been a big part of my musical journey, because I got him like during my gap year, like, or at the start of my gap year, I guess. And he's just been with me through like all of the figuring it out. And I think the cutest and best thing about him for me is that like he loves hearing me sing. And so I actually write most of my songs with him sitting right next to me. And he just like falls asleep. And like I know when a song is good because he'll like fall asleep, and if he doesn't like it, like he'll get up and leave, and typically those are the songs that I end up scrapping. And so I feel like somehow psychically he like knows what's going on. So yes, my cat.
I love it. That is amazing. Shout out to Jackson.
Shout out Jackson. Yeah.
Here's a random question, and I don't know if there's an actual answer. You do a lot of you do some piano stuff, you do some guitar stuff. Is there something you feel more focused to or more drawn to when you're writing early on, or is it, or do you kind of approach it by instrument? So, like, if you're writing a song, like, oh, I need a piano on this, or do you let it?
Yeah,
grow?
I think it's song by song. I think like recently I've been writing pretty much all my songs on guitar. And then like, if it's like a really hard progression for me to play, I'll move it over to piano and figure out a way to make it work. But I think like recently I've just been really honed in on guitar, especially as like I learn more about it and like feel more confident playing it. I just like, it's such a great instrument. And I've recently discovered different tunings and I'm like, oh shit, this is like a new instrument. And so I'm having a good time trying to like write primarily there. But again, it's song by song. Every once in a while I'll sit down at the piano and write something and then it's a piano song,
Yeah, that's awesome though. I love the achievement unlock of learning new tunings. Like it's like it opens, it's a whole new toolbox, isn't it? It's like, oh,
it's so fun. Yeah. I have definitely had days where I've just sat going through my Guitar Tuna app and like changing to all the different open tunings and like figuring it out. And those are some of my favorite memories.
Yeah, I spent a good period of time just mimicking all of the different tunings that Chris Carrabba used in Dashboard Confessional, and that was like a good like 6 or 7 months of my songwriting for a period of time in the early 2000s.
Oh, cool. I might have to copy you on that. That's cool.
Check it out. He's got some good ones in there.
Thanks for the rec.
Yeah, absolutely. The other question musically that I wanted to ask is like you do very well with sparse instrumentation and layering vocals and stuff like that. Do you have a sound in your head for like a full, like a lush band, like a multi-piece band, or do you kind of gravitate more towards what you've kind of put out, or is that just by necessity of I've got myself and I can absolutely lay all of this down without?
That's a good question. I think I think of it both ways. I kind of like the method of like releasing more stripped down recorded songs and then doing them differently live, because that's something that I admire about a lot of other artists who I look up to. It's like they'll have these really like soft, intimate recorded songs, and then you go to see them and it's like their full band, like there's like a full heavy drum kit and like it changes the vibe. And I like to kind of like set myself up to let a song express itself in different ways. And I feel like sometimes it's almost easier to like build it too much, and then when you strip it down, I think it's more predictable. Whereas like when people hear you be soft on like in a recorded version and then you make it bigger, it's kind of like they're expecting you to stay small and intimate, and they're like, they see the song in a different light. So I think I definitely, when I write something, I always imagine what it's going to sound like in different ways. And if that manifests in the recording, cool. But like sometimes it just stays soft and I save the noise for live shows.
That's awesome because I mean, like that's perfect in that it exists in both. I'm a big fan of live recordings and B-sides, and so now I have to ask because one of my favorite things you've done is the songs you recorded with WXPN's The Key. Would you put like a live album out or like a session 100%. Recording?
Yeah, definitely. I think that's something that I've always wanted to do and just haven't had like the resources to do up until probably now. That's definitely something that I'm going to explore, especially for a lot of my older songs where like I didn't really have the resources to maybe make them exactly how I wanted to. Like I still love those songs. And so I definitely I can see myself like kind of putting together like a little compilation, like live album of songs of mine that I feel like didn't get their their attention when they deserved it, you know?
Yeah, heck yeah. I love it. I love it. Okay, so we got Philly Music Fest coming up October 11th. We've got the super secret project that may or may be something, or, you know, we're just kind of alluding to. Are there any singles on the horizon? Are you releasing any other songs coming up, or?
Yes, I do have a single coming out. And you said this is coming out like next week?
This will be the 25th. Yes.
Oh,
Next.
perfect. Yeah, I do have a single coming out on the 29th.
Okay.
It is, yeah. So in a couple of weeks, and it's definitely, again, like this project, this potential project that may or may not exist, is definitely more candid in the songwriting. So I'm a little bit nervous to put this one out, but I'm also excited to get it off my chest. So I'm excited for people to hear it.
Excellent. I can't wait to hear it. Well, if these good folks listening at home would like to follow you or find you on the internet, what's the best way to track you down? What are the socials?
Yes. Yeah, my social media handles are all just Julia Pratt Music. And you can listen to my music anywhere that you listen, just at Julia Pratt.
I love it. Julia, thank you so much for doing this, and not just for taking the time to talk to dumb old me sitting in the cabin porch, but also for creating all of the awesome music that you've created so far and all of the awesome music you'll go on to create in the future. I am so excited to see you in the past at the Exponential Music Festival next weekend.
Thank you so much for having me. I love your podcast, and it's been so fun talking to you. So thank you. Thank you for taking the time.
Oh, thanks.
And also, please don't get wrecked by the hurricane coming.
I hopefully will survive.
Yeah.
My thanks again to Julia for joining me on the show today. You can hear her collaboration with Matt Quinn of Mount Joy, A Little Love, right now, and her next single, Julia Baby, is set to be released this coming Friday, September 29th. Both of those available on all streaming services. Julia will be performing at the World Cafe Live on October 11th as part of the Philly Music Fest, alongside Marion Hill, Saturn, Trap Rabbit, Ryan Gilfillian, and Sophie Coran. Tickets are still available, but these Philly Music Fest shows sell out, so be sure to lock down your tickets ASAP. You can find out more about Julia, including upcoming shows and more, on her website at www.juliaprattmusic.com. And you can follow her on the socials on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at Julia Pratt Music. And last but not least, head on over and check out Julia's interview with our friend Dan over on the 25 O'Clock podcast. So much more info to add on over there. Dan does an absolutely incredible show. Links to all of those, as always, will be in the show notes. If you haven't done so already, please be sure to subscribe to the Yo, That's My Jawn podcast wherever you get your podcast from. And gang, it is never too late to get yourself a super awesome Jawn Scout Merit Badge for citizenship of the world just by rating and reviewing us. Don't forget to visit www.yothat'smyjawn.com for articles, merchandise, and links to all of the previous episodes of this podcast. And while you are there, be sure to sign up for our mailing list to get all of the updates delivered straight into your inbox. Like us on Facebook at facebook.com/YoThat'sMyJawn for updates and live streams. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Yo That's My Jawn, and search Yo That's My Jawn on YouTube to find the Yo That's My Jawn YouTube channel. Like and subscribe the heck out of that ish. We want to hear from you. Reach out, and touch some Jawn. Good times, y'all. Thank you so much for listening. And don't forget, we're back with another episode next week. So come on back for my interview with Sean James. Blue skies. Until next time, everybody.
Hey yo, displace the guilt and embrace the pleasure. Your taste in music doesn't have to be...
Yo, That's My Jawn is a Lonely Monk production, written and produced by yours truly, Nate Runkle. Theme song by Phil Tyler Music featuring Nate 3.0. Special thanks to Fox Run Brands, DX Ferris, Andrew Scott, Natalie Runkle, and the incredibly brilliant and wickedly stunning Katie Daubney. If you or anyone you know has any ideas they would like to share or any guests they would like to hear on the podcast, please feel free to reach out to us at yothat'smyjawn@gmail.com. Or you can leave an audio message for us and possibly hear yourself on a future episode by visiting anchor.fm/ytmj/message. Until next time, be sure to displace the guilt and embrace the pleasure and shout to the world, yo, that's my Jawn.